Hello and welcome to episode 25 of Yogini from the Block, titled Giving from the Overflow, subtitled Overflowing, Not Overwhelming. This is Catherine Cespedes and you are listening to Yogini from the Block, where we talk about taking spiritual practices and spiritual principles off of the yoga mat and into our real lives. You can listen to this bi-weekly podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, and anywhere that you catch your podcasts. And I am here today with my wonderful producer, John Beethan.
Good generic time of the day to all of you out there. How's your New Year's going? Pause.
So wonderful. I am guessing it is going well. I am knowing, actually. I am absolutely knowing that your year is just starting off so powerfully, so wonderfully, knowing that there are a lot of shifts happening out there and we are just flowing right with them. So today, I wanted to talk about giving from the overflow, because what the heck does that mean? You know, like I've heard it, especially in Science of Mind, but you hear it in the Bible too. About the overflow, or like this overflowing abundance and just giving when my cuppeth runneth over. Not making fun of the Bible. I'm pretty sure there's a verse that says that with the ETH in the end. And the reason why I mention that is because throughout my journey, I have recognized that I really don't understand what that means, and I don't know how to ask that, you know, what it is. And this week we covered faith in prac, and I realized that faith is exactly that. Faith is working from this space of overflowing. And so I wanted to do a little bit more on that and going into definition. Overflow is going beyond the limits, running over to be more than enough, to fill to capacity, to be complete, and to be abundant. To be super abundant. And again, how do you do that? How do you work from the overflow? What does that even mean? And I have narrowed it down to a few things that I have been doing and I have discovered and have been working for me. And that is communication, self-reflection, and self-care. Working on those three things for me have absolutely been shifting my entire 2019, all of it. The entire month of it.
Do I get to ask you how you have been working on those
Sure,
three things?
Absolutely.
Great. I'd like to know, and I'm sure everybody out there would like to know too.
Yeah. So with communication, perfect example is, I was telling John when I came in that my little sister is turning 24 today, and she reached out to me and she said, Kathy, I would love a guitar for my birthday. And I said, sure. Went online to see how much it was. And I was like, holy moly, you want a what? And she was like, and I want a specific brand too. And the whole time I was just like, how am I going to do this for her? How can I deliver? This is way out of my budget. This is not going to work for me. And I realized that at that point, I was not working from my overflow. I was working from despair and not believing. And so I spoke to my beloved about it. I spoke to Kevin about it, and he said, well, talk to her. I'm sure she'll understand. And I was like, you don't get it. You don't know my sister. And he was like, okay, well, if you really think that she is that way, then I guess she is that way. And I did a little research, and I was like, you know what? I could afford this. It's it's more in my budget. And then my mom can assist me with it. And then we can get you the full kit. And we can get you lessons off of, Groupon. So altogether, it would be way less than the guitar that you want. But this is how I would support your dream. And she said, you know what? I've been thinking about it. And I would even be down to get a ukulele to start. I know that it's a lot more affordable. And I was like, let me talk to mommy and see. I still call her mommy. Let me talk to mommy and see what we can do for you. But I want you to know. I want you to know that I support you, and I want you to know that I love you, and I want you to know that I am doing all this research so that I can see what is what is feasible for me and how I can get you what it is that you are wanting, how I can support you. And she said, she's gonna be so mad I said this. She was like, stop, you're gonna make me cry. And I was like, I think I'm gonna cry too. So it was a very sentimental moment, because in that moment she said, I am a lot more understanding than you think I am. And in communication, I said, you know what? You're right. You are absolutely right. You are more understanding than I think you are. And vice versa. She said, you know what? You're right. You are a lot more understanding and giving than I understood you to be. So communication, one example of how I was stressing myself out for no reason. The moment that I opened up and I started communicating with her, she told me that would work. And more than that, she was just so touched and moved that I had done the research to say, this is not available for me, but this is. And look how much more we can get you with this. So that's one thing. In self-reflection, this is Yogini from the block, because I started this journey on yoga. And what I noticed was that, I don't know if you've ever felt this, but I have been feeling this, I've been doing this breath that it's almost like I just finished crying. It's like the, right? I'm like, that's weird. Why am I doing that? What I realized was that I wasn't breathing. So there are a lot of projects that I have. I know there are a lot of projects that I have.
Yes, you do.
on my desk right now. And I realized that I was holding my breath. And what happens when you hold your breath is that you can't do anything. You go into this survival mode of, I can only do so much because my breath will only allow so much. You know, like I could only run so fast, or I could only work out so much because I'm not breathing. And in my meditations, I've been focusing on that breath. And then taking my meditation into my day and checking in with myself in self-reflection, like, how are you feeling? Are you breathing? Did you take a breath? Please breathe. I need you to breathe. Because I want to remind you that not just for me, but spirit, this entity, this divine energy, this divine intelligence, this source is only able to express through us and as us. And it's very important to breathe so that we can stay alive to do the work as spirit. Yeah.
I actually, for those of you out there, I wanted you to notice something, which Kat and I have talked about a little bit before, but it's how she speaks with herself, how she speaks to herself. It's generally speaking a very kind voice,
yeah.
Which is huge.
Thank you.
So something worth thinking about.
Yes.
And practicing something different. If you find a critic in your head, you might want to turn the volume down on that and turn the volume up on the kind person, because there is a kind person in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Self-reflection is typically shows up with how am I loving myself, and that runs over into self-care, right? That bleeds into self-care. And again, breathing. Like, how am I breathing? When am I holding my breath? And when am I feeling tired or achy? Like, really checking into my body. How does my body feel? And including yoga into my every morning practice. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it doesn't matter, as long as I get on the floor. Like, just get there. It doesn't matter if you have 50 seconds. You have 50 seconds, go ahead and do a child pose. And already, for me anyway, it shows me that I am my priority. Like, I love you so much. I will get on this floor at 5 o'clock in the morning and make sure that you are taken care of for the rest of the day.
You could actually do that in an empty elevator on the way up to the third floor to get someplace, huh?
You can. I would not get on that floor.
I know. It was meant to be humorous, Kat. Lighten up, okay?
I would totally not get on that floor. But checking in on what you can do, even in a crowded elevator, which comes back to your breath. Because even if you can't get on the floor or roll out your yoga mat, you can always breathe. You don't need anything for that. You don't need space. You don't need a $90 Manduka mat. You don't need anything. You just need yourself. And that just brings me back. And also, I have been using a lot of essential oils, right? So I've been using it to just like as a ritual for myself, taking care of myself. Like I use copaiba on my face at night, and then I put like lavender in my hair because I'm letting it grow out, and then I put some peppermint on my feet. So there's like different things, and I'm doing this because it feels nice. I don't know if you've ever given yourself a little foot massage, but it is there's something so healing about telling your feet like I thank you. You know, that's almost like appreciating the steps that you're taking to further your development, to further your progression, to further your expansion. Understanding that every single part of you comes into it, not just your mind, not just your heart, not just your hands. Your entire being is totally involved and invested in you, right? So these are the self-care that I've been doing because it's little things, but it has made such a difference. And this morning, I felt like my feet were a little stiff. And so I just rubbed them. I just held on to them. And as I was doing it, I kind of felt like, I don't know how to explain it. I kind of just felt like, oh, you love me. Like you love me. You thought about me today. It was just, for me, it felt so loving and it felt so nurturing. And so those are just a few things that I've thrown into my day that don't take a lot of time. It does not take a lot of time to just hold your feet. It would be weird if you just like gave your foot a high five or something like that. But it really has made a difference for me, knowing that, yes, I have deadlines. Yes, I have huge projects, but they are not bigger than Source. And they are not bigger than the expression that can come out of me. And yes, I deal with some interesting characters and interesting quote unquote obstacles, but they are not bigger than Source. They are not bigger than the expression that will evolve out of me. So again, we were talking about faith, and this along with a post that I saw about being overwhelmed kind of coupled together, and it really brought up the overflow of how to work from that overflow, because now I've taken care of myself in the morning and I've taken care of myself in the evening. So in the daytime, I can really focus on everything else. And understanding that even while I'm doing the everything else, I'm still very important. So again, the self-talk is very important. And breathing is very important, because I cannot stress how important it is to breathe. Like if you don't breathe, you die, you know? And this morning, I think this morning kind of gave me this understanding, this deeper understanding of breathing, because I was meditating, and the guided meditation this is all from Insight Timer, is what I use for meditation in the morning, was telling me to inhale and feel the breath come through the heels of my feet, like the heel of my feet. And I was like, oh, that's weird. That's a weird, like, put breath into that. And then I realized how it flowed into my entire being, into all of me. And understanding, once again, because when we do yoga, the idea is to have basically eyes, sensors in every part of our body, to have more understanding of our body and where it is in space. And when we are breathing, that's exactly what's happening, is that we are giving our feet eyes. We are giving our calves and our knees eyes. We're giving them the same relevance that we would give the eyes on our face, right? Because we see with our eyes on our face, but we can also feel and see with every part of us. And this is, maybe I shouldn't admit this, but I will. So I'm watching this anime called Black Clover. And in that anime, basically one of the characters tells the other character that there is this energy called ki, Ki, right? And ki really means to see with every part of your being, not to just hear with your ears, not just to see with your eyes, but to be able to see with everything what is coming and kind of just being aware. That's just that awareness of the room, awareness of the building, and awareness of the entire block. Just being aware of it with something bigger and broader than the eyes and the ears that we have, on our face and our head. So those are a few things that I've done for self-care, a few things that I've done with self-reflection, really reflecting on how my body is feeling, what kind of thoughts I'm thinking, and how I'm communicating with people and how I am loving myself. And that really means, how am I sharing with people how to communicate with me? How am I sharing with people how I want to be treated, and how I would love to see things flow? And again, this is giving from the overflow, because I have found myself, and I feel like a lot of individuals that work in service give and they give and they give and they give from this deep well of their being. And that is so beautiful, but so exhausting. It's so exhausting because you're doing this thing that you love, but you don't have enough energy for anything else. You don't have enough energy to give the next day. So it just shows that, and it reminds me that God, spirit, divine intelligence is abundant in time, abundant in energy, abundant in resources, abundant in intelligence, just abundant beyond our means. And so when we take care of ourselves, we're able to align and able to tap into that overflow. And that's what that overflow means, is that I'm taking such good care of myself that everything else is an overflow. The joy that comes from me is an overflow. And I realize that energy that I have, and a lot of us have, really shifts the energy in a room, really shifts the energy in a work environment, or a get together, or a phone conversation. And I've also been reaching out to my closest friends. So communicating with other people who know me, like they knew me when I thought I was in the darkest of my days. And they've watched my growth and development. So really having an accountability partner. And that doesn't mean that we talk every day, but that does mean that I reach out to them. So I had a conversation with my best friend for 3 hours. I forgot when, maybe Saturday. And we haven't been able to talk because we haven't been able to catch each other. And she was telling me that she really wanted to have that time. She was like, Kathy, I know that you say that we can talk for like 20 minutes, but that's never the case. So I'm glad that I put aside like a whole day to talk to you. And through that, everything came out. Everything just came out. Everything that I had been holding in, trying to keep it together, trying to stay centered and aligned. And it all came out. And then I realized, oh my goodness, this is happening. This is happening within me. These are conversations that I'm not having with anyone else, but I can have it with her. And she explained to me what was going on in her life. And I was like, wow, different places, different spaces, same bottom line. And so again, how do I get back to that overflow? How do I get back to that loving space, to that energetic, joyous place that I am? I know that I am that. And so this is what's come up. It's that self-care, it's that self-reflection, and absolutely communication. And I was just noticing the shift in my ability to give, in my ability to produce, and my ability to show up. When it comes from that overflow, you know it. When it comes from that overflow, everyone else knows it. And when you come from that overflow, there is no limit to what you can create. And I had so many other things bulleted down here, and I just want you to know that this year, Seaside is focusing on healing. And we have a wonderful podcast that John also produces. It's called Joyous Podcast. And I encourage you, like, if there's more that you want to hear, if there's more spaces you want to go to, if you want to go a little bit deeper, just listen to that podcast. I think John wants to say something.
Well, it can be found on joyouspodcast.com.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I encourage you to go there because it's going to be a little bit deeper than this. Reverend Christian does a wonderful job talking about time management, talking about healing, talking about forgiveness, talking about how to live from joy. And this talk has actually come out from conversations that I've had with him this week, where I was at my wit's end. I was like, Reverend Christian, I don't know what to do. And he sat down with me from his overflow to tell me how to do it. And I've taken pieces and I've worked them into who I am in my person. And I mean, I'm very lucky to have such a mentor. So I encourage you to listen to his talks on joyouspodcast.com and also reach out to me. If you have any questions, if this relates to you, tell me how. And if there's any self-care that I need to know about, let me know, because I can never care about myself too much. You could reach out to me at yoginifromtheblock@gmail.com and send me that information.
Yeah, you can also, we're adding to the show notes on your podcatcher. Mm-hmm. If you basically open it up, there's a link with a phone number and email, and everything's just right there. Reach out. Yeah, man. I'm totally approachable. But I do want to end on just a spiritual mind treatment, knowing that if you're listening to this, knowing that you are prosperous, knowing that God, knowing that spirit, knowing that universe is always available, knowing that this divine intelligence that created the stars, the moon, and the galaxies also created you, knowing that you come from this divine source, this unlimited supply, knowing that you go into the rest of your day, the rest of your week, the rest of the month, the rest of the year, the rest of your life, overflowing with joy, overflowing with energy, overflowing with love, knowing that this time has been used so effectively, so efficiently, and has moved and transformed all of us into a better space. I am so grateful for this podcast, for this time, for my producer releasing these words in divine law, knowing it's already done, and so it is.